20146, that's your SMS line at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. Let's talk the economic review this morning. Now, the Tea Act 2020 is now facing considerable challenge after the East African Tea Traders Association, EATA, moved to court to seek its suspension after a consortium of tea multinationals also sought to have it removed. The association, responsible for the weekly Mombasa tea auction process, decry the heavy taxation that the sector now faces under the Act. They now demand that some sections of the Act be expunged, especially after the High Court ruled Monday last week, barring the collection of the tea levy from processors and manufacturers save for orthodox and specialty tea. This morning we asked the question, was the Tea Act of 2020 passed hurriedly without proper consultation from all the involved stakeholders, owing to the constant wrangles that have ensued in the tea sector since it became law? All right, this morning I want us to look at exactly what our prices in the latest tea auction prices from the Mombasa action really indicate this morning, and you can actually look at that and you can actually say that from 2018 to 2020, well, there has been quite a good jump in terms of the fortunes from the auction, also propped up by the effects of the coronavirus pandemic on the world's market as well when it comes to the tea prices in the country and worldwide as well. Well, this morning, to help us understand that and many other issues around that area, let's cross over to Apollo Kiarii, the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Tea Growers Association. Apollo, thank you very much for joining us this morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Happy to see you. All right, let's understand now, Apollo. I mean, why do we have a lot of cries now after passing the Tea Act of 2020? Was it hurriedly passed?
Adija, thank you for hosting me this morning. And from the onset, I want to indicate that the matters of the Tea Act are already now in court.
Yes.
There are various petitions that have been filed by various stakeholders. So for all purposes and intent, we need to be careful so that we don't go against the law. So
pretty much.
Don't get cited for contempt.
Yes.
So I'll just touch on the very general areas without going into the nitty-gritty as to the petition issues that are canvassed in court. And to say that the Tea Act, as it is now, came in as a relief in some sorts, and at the same time, in some other areas, it came in with a lot of negative impacts. Since 2018, when it was presented to Senate, everybody was very happy that we have a new act that is coming into being. It's going to get tea out of the Crops Act. It's going to reestablish the Tea Board of Kenya. It's going to reestablish the Tea Research Foundation. We're going to give in the governance structures as to how the industry is run, because you know, from 2013, we were on autopilot. We didn't have any law, or if it was, then it was not being properly implemented. So everybody was happy that we have an act that was coming into being, and stakeholders engaged quite well from the initial stages at the Senate level, initially in 2018, 2019. 2020, when it went now to National Assembly, some things happened. Changes were put that ought not to have been put into the act.
Yes.
And that's where now the bone of contention is. So we are saying that as far as the act is concerned, it has some very good aspects, but it also has some very negative implications.
Pretty much.
That's the issue on the ground, Raja.
Yes. Apollo, talk to me. I mean, what is the role of KTDA? Because it's also a conversation that now we have to have now. What would you say is the role of KTDA in terms of the overall tea sales that we have seen in the country now? Because it looks as if, well, their powers are going to be limited, and that's exactly what some of the multinationals and some associations are now saying.
The role KTDA remains what it has. One, it's one of the biggest model of a cooperative society.
Yes.
Though in a limited company sort of structure. And actually, it is one of the institutions where most of the tea growing and agricultural growing countries come to benchmark with. It is a model that has been able to run the tea industry pretty well. It is has been able to ensure workers, farmers get money at the end of the day. It's actually the tea industry is one of the commodity crops that every month a farmer gets some little money into his pocket.
Yes.
As opposed to other commodity crops like coffee and sisal and pyrethrum, which went down the drain.
Yes.
So KTDA law will remain. It is still owned by the farmers themselves. It is not owned by outsiders. They are shareholders within KTDA. They determine how it is run. So it's an issue of just reorganizing the governance structure. And I think that's what should have happened from the word go.
Yes.
If there were issues, there were challenges, what could have happened is for the stakeholders, it is said that if you're buying a shoe and you put it on and you feel that it's pinching you, you can't continue wearing it. So the best would have been, get this shoe back to the Cobra, let him repair it, let him make it, fit the person who's wearing quite properly. Because there's no need of putting in a law that will destabilize the industry and that will bring, challenges in how operations are run. And at the end of the day, you find the industry going down the drain.
Yes.
That's the biggest worry the tea industry has.
Apollo, let me ask you this question as well, because without really going into the nitty-gritties of why now we have this Tea Act 2020 getting challenged, do you also share the same sentiment that, well, before the Tea Act 2020, that the industry was not really for the farmer, it was for the brokers and the entities in it, without really being best for the farmer?
I would not confirm that, because from where I see it,
yes,
the farmer is the key player in the industry. Because without the farmer, there's no tea that goes along the value chain.
Yes.
So if you look at the kind of payments farmers always get, we can comfortably say, and it's well documented, that out of the entire value chain, the farmer gets the biggest component of what we receive in the auction. 70% goes to the farmer.
Yes.
So what kind of other business do you expect the person who produces the raw material is getting the biggest chunk of the cake?
Yes.
So what has happened, and why there was a lot of hue and cry last year in 2020 and also in 2019, is that globally the tea size, it's cyclic. The trends of the tea consumption and the purchasing power and the prices are cyclic. They go after every 5 years. You find that the weather has improved. There's a glut in the market. There's low consumption, so the prices plummet. Then it picks up again. Remember, in 2014 we had a similar situation, and there was a lot of complaints by the farmers. Come 2015, 16, 17 was very good.
Yes.
2018 very nice. 2019 started going down. It's cyclic. Every 5 years you'll find this cycle go back historically. You'll find it happening.
Yes.
So when the tea prices plummeted in 2019, then as usual, everybody started complaining. But nobody is addressing the key reasons why prices go down. Overproduction. Nobody talks about the world production of tea, which is shooting every day. The projections last year, 2020, was that would produce 6.1 billion kilos of tea and consume 6.1.
Yes.
So there's almost 200 million kilos, which nobody will saying where it's going to go. So nobody addresses those challenges. Nobody addresses the marketing. Nobody addresses the cost of production. So when those things are not looked at, the farmer will always complain that I'm not getting enough money for my tea.
Apollo, is somebody going to challenge you on the approach or your response to that question? Let me take you to exactly how the Tea Act 2020 envisages for us to run the industry specifically. They're saying that, well, if you look at what it's saying, it is barring the collection of tea levy from processors and manufacturers, save for only orthodox and specialty tea. Is that not saying, well, the farmer has to have a bigger say? Are they negating what has been there previously, saying, well, the people who run the industry have been having a say, but now, this time around, the farmer has to get more? And if you look by what they're proposing, that in just 1 year, you should get all your proceeds from the sale of your tea as a farmer.
That's a formula that we are yet to test and see how it will work.
Yes.
Because if what you are just changing the payment form for formulas and then the presentations to the farmers.
Yes.
Earlier on, they used to get some little payments to take care of the operations on the garden, but then at the end of the year, when the financials have been done and the profits have been realized, then they are shared across the board. What they are saying right now is that the bigger portion or the bigger component gets to the farmer first.
Yes.
Then, come the end of the year, whatever little has remained, whether it's 50% or whatever, then after the financials have been done, then the farmer gets it. It doesn't change anything. Actually, what will happen is that the bonus, or what you used to call the bonus, will be less in the coming years, because they will be consuming the bigger chunk in advance. That's the only thing that is going to change. But in terms of the prices at the auction or wherever market we are putting our tea to, that will determine the cake. It will not change anything else. The market determines what you get at the end of the day.
Yes.
And then the other thing, farmers are the owners of the tea. They own the factories. They own the processes. It's their process, all the way up to the auction. So at the end of the day, what happens is that you calculate all those overheads that have been incurred from the time that he got from the garden to when the hammer hits the table and somebody buys it. So work out to those mathematics, and that's what the farmer will get. If prices are low, then obviously the net income to the farmer will be low.
Yes.
It's simple economics, and I don't think we should really have been expounded so much that farmers are being ripped off.
Pretty much, Apollo. All right, let's look at exactly where we are in 2021. Could you comment on the rise in value and quantity of tea that we exported from the country? And do we expect the trend to continue into 2021? What economics are we looking at around this area?
The annual statistics for 2020 have not come through from the Tea Directorate.
Yes.
So they are working on them now because they usually release them in January.
Yes.
But going back in 2019, sorry, we produced 453 million kilos of made tea.
Yes.
As a country. Now, last year, you remember when COVID came, production did not stop. We continued producing. Yet consumption was affected when the countries where we export our tea went into lockdowns.
Yes.
Britain, Germany, Egypt, Russia, all those countries. They went into lockdowns. So tea started getting accumulated in our stores. So the weather was also very nice last year. There was continued rain and a breakage of dry weather, kidogo. So what we are projecting as a 2020 performance is that there will be too much tea that was produced. Value was very low. We are also anticipating the same, because even as we speak right now, it's raining in Rift Valley. Yeah, so production is expected to go up. Right now, as we speak, Great Britain is in shutdown.
Yes.
Cafes and restaurants and the hotels where teas are mostly taken are not operational. What does that mean? Prices will go down. So we are looking at an year that is very, very dicey, very, very fragile, and we are just praying that something happens. Last year we had some good phenomenon happening in India during the lockdown. Of course, they stopped even production for about 3 months. That gave the impetus for our tea in Mombasa to increase their prices a little bit. But now everybody is back to production. So there will be a glut, there will be low purchasing power, because most employees have been affected. Companies have shut down all over the world. So what does that mean? Low uptake of the tea,
yes,
and low prices at the end of the day. That's the kind of projection we are looking at.
Pretty much. Is that going to be the same thing for even our local auctions here, especially the Mombasa auction?
Precisely, that's what we are looking at.
Yes.
Because the Mombasa auction is the biggest auction in the world.
Yes.
So most of the teas converge in Mombasa, and that's where the dictates of how the tea performance will are picked from. So what happens in Kenya affects the entire country, world at large.
Pretty much. Apollo, Thank you very much for joining us this morning for a conversation around that area. That is Apollo Kiarii, the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Tea Growers Association. Now, this morning, there's a conversation that we had intimated that we're going to talk about, and I don't know whether Simon Kimutai, the Chairman Matatu Owners Association, has joined us this morning, because now we do know that Matatu operators now want the Kenya Revenue Authority, Kiarii, to extend tax cuts to the industry on the amount they are charged in advance per seat for their vehicles, citing reduced income due to the COVID-19 regulations that have nearly halved vehicle capacity. Matatu Owners Association Chairman Simon Kimutai now says that operators should be charged based on the COVID-19 mandated seating arrangements, which now force the stipulated Matatus in the country to hold 60% of its original capacity to conform to the social distancing protocols. He maintains that the Kiarii is still demanding 720 shillings per seat per year, or 10,080 shillings for a 14-seater Matatu whose capacity has been reduced to 9 seats, while a 41-seater bus pays 29,520 shillings per annum of their capacity reduced to 25%. Mr. Kimutai now was lamenting on the rate of taxation in the industry after forwarding a memorandum to Kiarii demanding for a review of the advanced taxes. Questions that we're asking this morning is the National Transport and Safety Authority Director Wilfred Okemwa has in the recent past said that no Matatu should be inspected and certified as roadworthy before it shows proof of advance tax payment. Has this been in place before this year? And what sort of tax reprieve are the Matatu owners seeking for amid reduced fortunes during the COVID-19 pandemic? Let me just confirm from my producer whether Kimutai is joined us. Do we have him? Not yet. All right, let's move on to the next issue that we have for you this morning as we wait for Mr. Kimutai to join us. Now, Bitcoin is pulling back from what has been a steady price decline in the recent past, even as traders anticipate another crypto high watermark after it hit a high over $1,000. 439 trading numbers indicated the price fell Wednesday last week, hitting a low of $33,000, 430 around 15 as around 10 a.m. East African time. Now, according to CoinStake, 20 data down from $36,794 just to 24 hours prior to the decline, before later picking at $35.23. Now, Constantine Kogan, a partner at crypto investment firm Wave Financial, has a bearish outlook, anticipating a fall to at least $30,000. And I quote, he says that this is where the bulls will begin to buy back actively. Well, this morning, to help us understand further into why we've dropped now from 40,000, or whether we are actually going to see 40,000 despite the prediction of 51,000 mark before the end of 2021, we are joined by Anangi, founder, Zeden Technologies, and a crypto trader, and David Gitonga, managing editor, Bitcoin KE. David, let me pick your sentiments on that before bringing in Alice. David, well, the celebration was 40,000, but it looks as if we're coming back to now what seems to be 30,000. Are we going to get back to 40,000 anytime soon?
Yes, Simba, there's actually a real possibility of that happening.
Yes.
So looking at the data, so what we do is we look at the data. So we look at what's called a long-short ratio.
Yes.
And it helps you know how many traders are longing and how many are shorting.
Yes.
And what the data tells you is currently they are, in the long run, for example, institutional investors are looking at Bitcoin in the long run, that it will eventually go up. So the overall market sentiment is that Bitcoin is, generally optimistic.
Yes. All right, let me bring in Alice, because David, we're going to speak about exactly what says that the environment around that area is quite optimistic. All right, Alice, this is what other analysts are saying, that should we get to 30,000, and I'm going to quote them, that this is where the bulls will begin to actively buy back to support that sentiment.
Yes, very true. Yeah.
Yes.
And if you look at how the market retraced within the past few days, on the 22nd, we did touch the 30,000 level mark, So between 30,000 and 28,000, there is very, very strong support at that area, So we had definitely big buy-ins, So that shows that the market is definitely bullish, and we have very strong support from the institutional investors at that area of 28 and 30,000.
Yes.
So we did take that fall from 40,000. We retested the 28,000 support, and there was very strong rejection. And right now, if we look at the price, we are currently at 33,000.
Yes.
So there is a possibility of retesting the 40,000 level because of the strong support we have at the 30,000 area.
Yes. All right, Alice, just before we let it go on that area as well, I mean, now we're talking about 33. I mean, we didn't even touch the 30,000 mark. Are we saying, Alice, that the 20K that we were talking about last year is not going to be touched by Bitcoin this year? And what is on the ground to support that?
Well, there is a possibility, but if you look at the market movement here, we do have a very strong trend line. From when Bitcoin went up from $10,000 up until the level that we are right now, we have a very, very strong trend line that gives a very strong support and shows that anything above $28,000, we are in a bullish sentiment, But the moment we break down below 28,000, then it's important for traders to start considering getting into shorting positions, But since we have seen evidence from now when Bitcoin touched that level and went back up, there's so much strong support on the 28,000 and 30,000 level, So we haven't yet broken below it, and currently the sentiment is bullish. So until we break below it and then we turn now to the bearish sentiment, right now we are very strongly bullish.
Yes. All right, David, I want you to weigh in on that as well. Well, Alice says that, the environment is quite bullish. Do you support that sentiment? Because if you look at this jump that we're seeing right now, I mean, we've touched 30K and now we're doing at 33. And if you look at the biggest jump since we were at 40K was at 36,794. Talk to me about that price jump. What does it indicate, David?
So, yes, I do agree. Again, in the long run, the market is very optimistic.
Yes.
So, and we are seeing this with institutional investors. Just last week alone, we are seeing a good number of institutions just getting into Bitcoin, and they are buying Bitcoin at above 30,000. So in the long run, yes, the market is very optimistic. But when you look at the short term, again, looking at the data, the long-short ratio, open interest, well, the price could go down in the short term. Again, it's not certain, but the data tells us that there are a lot more, traders holding long positions.
Yes.
And that means if the price was to go slightly down, then it could touch below 30,000. But in the long run, yes, the market is bullish.
David, well, the prediction is that, before the end of 2021, we're going to see a 51,000 price for Bitcoin. Well, if you go by this recent jump, I mean, the closest, the highest we've been in 2021 is 40K. That was a bit stable for some days. And now we're back to talking about 36 recent big one from 40. Are we being overly optimistic, David, here when we're talking about 51K before the end of 2021?
Well, again, let's use the data.
Yes.
The data says that currently, there are more people who are holding what we call leveraged long positions.
Yes.
So that if for some reason, if the market or if the price was to go down slightly, then a lot of these positions would get liquidated.
Yes.
So again, we have to be careful. We cannot say for certain that, it's going to hit 50,000 or 40,000. The data tells us, a different story. Long short ratios, open interest, volume, they all give us a picture that says in the short term, yes, the price could go down, but in the long run, it could go up.
Yes. Alice, I remember when I was speaking to you last year, you actually predicted this. You told me, well, with the recent price jump in 2020, we do not expect that this is actually going to stop. And true to your prediction, we did hit 40K. But then, Alice, we seem to be now sort of redefining a new price point, which is about 30-something K. The prediction that we might hit 51, is it too early for us to predict that, or you share the same sentiment with David this morning?
Well, I tend to agree with what David is saying, yeah, because how the market moves, you do have definitely levels of support and resistance, yeah.
Yes.
So until we have the major resistances broken as is right now, yeah, and if we look at the historical data, our major resistance is at 42,000. We did go above 40.
Yes.
We tested the 42,000, and then now we started pulling back, yeah. And as I told you last time, this pullback is actually a very normal and healthy retracement, and we call it a market consolidation, yeah.
Yes.
If we continued going up without pulling back, yeah, to sort of balance the market out, so that people who are longing can cash out profits, and then people who want to come into the market can come in at now lower levels. Yeah,
yes.
They're the ones who give us the very strong support that we have at 30,000 level. So the sentiment that we have right now is, for us to be able to say that for certain we are heading towards the 50K level, we must break the 42,000 resistance level that we have, yeah? And currently we've seen that with the pullback, we've gone to 30,000 and we've had very strong support because the price hasn't gone below 30,000, yeah?
Yes.
So we are at that place where we really have to look at the longing and shorting ratio, yeah? So until we break the major resistance of 42,000, then we can have conviction that we are headed towards 50,000. So right now, the normal range is between 28,000 and 36,000, yeah? So if we break above that, then for sure we can say we are headed towards the higher 50K ranges.
Pretty much. Let's take a short break here on Business AM. Alice and David, once we come back, when do we expect a lot of buying back? And what is going to lead to that shortly here on Business AM?